Noches, don Mario, no te había visto.
Señor Jorge, ¿cómo está?
Por la gracia de Dios, muy bien. ¿Y tú?
Muy bien. Baruch Hashem, ok.
Aquí pensando en las locuras del mundo, amigo.
No, yo estoy pensando en las locuras de su presidente.
Eso es cierto, pero bueno.
Está loco. Está loco como una cabra.
No, está más loco que la cabra, por favor. Las cabras saben dónde van y cómo caminan.
Él no.
Bien.
Hola.
Hola, hola, amapola. Harold, how are you?
I'm doing good. No complaints.
Ay,
The sun came out today. It's all good.
Yes, yes.
it's not so dark.
Yeah.
So good.
Anything out of Israel? Any developments?
¿Sí?
In Israel, Trump was supposed to announce some big development.
Not yet. It's
No?
going to be between Thursday, Friday, and next Monday.
That's a Saudi Arabia thing, or what is that?
No one knows. They've kept it close to the chest. I personally think that that's very likely the case, but that's my guess. What do you think?
Unless they're bombing Tehran.
No, I think that bombing Tehran is going to be Israel. I think Israel is going to bomb them.
Yeah, Trump doesn't want it on his record. He has enough source with the tariffs.
You know what? The interesting thing is that I've been reading all this stuff that Blinken did to Israel.
Oh, Blinken?
He's a momser. He's a momser. He and Biden extended Israel's war. If they had let Israel do what it wanted to do at the beginning, all of this would have been gone.
Right.
It would have been a couple of months and we would have been done.
Yeah.
We have lost 1,000 soldiers.
Yeah.
1,000 soldiers.
And Blinken's a Jewish guy too. They're the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what he said to the New York Times.
Those are his people.
Yeah.
Ernie.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Ernie.
Hello.
You need to make us smile, Ernie. We were getting depressed.
What do you mean? Because thank you.
We're trying to figure out what the surprise of Trump's is.
Yeah, I heard that maybe a trade deal.
No, because he said that it's something bigger and more significant. It's got to be some realignment that I think would help.
I'll tell you, maybe he's going to Saudi Arabia next week.
Right.
Maybe it has to do with recognizing Israel.
That would be huge. But
That's
the only
what I was
negative
thinking.
against that, and I keep reminding myself of that, is that so the Saudis have said that the only time they'll recognize Israel is when Israel recognizes a Palestinian state. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Let's watch and see.
Well, that's not happening.
No, that is not going to happen. For sure.
Hey, Ben. Okay, we're on Vav, Amud Aleph, 6. Tomorrow, we'll also do the Daf at 7 o'clock. Hi, Mai. Why is there a kasha? Bishma below me. So we had 4 levels of whiteness. One of them was
where we started
on
Vav.
the top of Vav Amud Aleph.
Okay.
So Mikrum Beitza lo kasha. The lowest was Krum Beitza. And the second was Sid Hecha. The top was Baheret, and the third was Se'ed. And we talked about his starfus. That means if you don't have enough of a shear from one, you can be in the star even the 2 shades of white, but they have to be next to each other. The afagrav krum beitza mitatoy the se'es. Even though krum beitza is lower in whiteness than se'es, Rachmana Omer v'laseis v'lasapachas. The Torah specifically included it. Sapachas, which is even tfeil l'seis, which is even less white than se'es. But you can be mitzaref the krum beitza and the sapachas. That avagav the manachas aminei tuva, even though it multiple levels lower in terms of whiteness. Why? Elasid echel kasha. You cannot combine sid echel with baher zakon Rabbi Kiva because it's two levels. It only could be the level next to it, and there's no ribu in the pasuk to tell me that you'd be allowed to do that. Elamach varta masnisin delok Rabbi Kiva, which is what the Gemara wanted to prove that our Mishnah was not like Rabbi Kiva. Vehecha shaminin. So the Gemara now wants to explore where do we see that it's the Rabbi Kiva shazulam al mizu, that you have four levels, one greater than the other, and sid heichal is not mitzraf l'baheres because it's two levels away. Where do we learn this? Maybe from the following brisa on Rabbi Yossi. Shal Yoshua b'nosh Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva had a son, Yoshua, who asked Rabbi Kiva's father to follow. Mivnei amru maris nagoim shnaim shein arba. Why did the Chachamim use the phraseology by Kohanim looking at the goyim, two that are four? Amr lo, Rabbi Kiva said, Im lav ma yomru, what should they say? So Yeshua responded, Yoimru, anything that is whiter, mikrum beitza l'mala tome. They could have kept it simple. Any wider level than krum beitza is tome. Amr lo. So why were four mentioned? The two that are next to each other going down from 1, 2, 3, 4, each one next to its chaverta can combine. And unless we know all four, we wouldn't know which one can combine. Amar lo v'yoimru mikrum beitza l'mala tame u'mitzarfin zemzeh. They could have just said any level of whiteness above krum beitza, number one is Tomei and can be mitzaref. Amr lo. Well, we needed the names. Any coin that does not know how to separate between baheres and se'es and krum beitza v'shmoseyem, he is someone who is not fit. Ein aroes on a coin cannot be called as a coin to go inspect the coin and to adjudicate which one is Tomei, which one is Torah. So that was the discussion between Rabbi Kiva and his son. And Rabbi Yeshua sort of suggested to his father, let them all combine above krum beitza. But the ilush yomer misid heichal lamala loikamar. He didn't just say anything above sid heichal. He used the lowest one, krum beitza. And the fact that he didn't say that, mimash lo amar le shmaminoj the shmiled Rabbi Kiva shomar kulu libahadi seis mitzarfin. All of them can be mitzarf with seis because there's a pasuk. Right, there was a special pasuk that we learned, and the only reason sid heichal is mitzarfus is because it's one level away, but sid heichal is two levels away from baheres, and therefore, because the seis is the nega that's in between baheres and sid heichal, so they can't combine. The Gemara wants to say that seems to be the proof for Rabbi Kiva. The Gemara says no. Dilma, maybe what Rabbi Yeshua was suggesting to his father when he said from anything above krum beitza would be mitzaref, he meant dividing it. Se'es v'todoseha, se'es and its tolda, which is krum beitza, and baheres, which it's with its tolda, which is seid hechel. But he made that statement sort of in a shortened way. So there's no proof from this brisa that we just learned that Hechal is not mitzarf with baheres. So Ella, where do we know that Rabbi Kiva holds of that? Mirav Chanina. Rav Chanina, Mashal Rabbi Kiva. How do we understand Rabbi Kiva? That these negoim are mitzaref based on their levels of whiteness. What is it similar to? You have 4 glasses of milk. In 1 glass of milk are 2 drops of blood. The next one has 4. And then the other one has 8. And other people say right, 2 to the second, 2 to the third, 2 to the fourth. Shekulan maros loivenhe. All of these are changing colors of white. Each one is redder than the other. One is whiter than the other. Eimer deshamis later Rabbi Kiva. That's benega patuach. There are some white negoim that are mixed with red, because it says in the pasuk baheres levana adam damis, and there's different degrees of redness. But a nega chaluk, a regular white nega, which is not mixed with red, mishamislei. Again, we have no source yet to tell us that Rabbi Kiva learned this hierarchy. Maybe we'll say, just like he shows us that there is a level of whiteness in a hierarchy with white mixed with red, so hachi shamislei b'chaluk as well, which is not mixed with red. But the Gemara quickly asks, Ube patuach gufe mishamislei. Where do you see that with a white nega mixed with red? And he holds like that. Vatanya, Rekiva Oimer, Adabdam, Shebazeh v'shebazeh kiyana mozik b'mayim. A nega that is somewhat red, and if its color is kiyana mozik b'mayim, if its color is like wine diluted with water, Ela shel baheres aza kasheleg. A strong baheres would be white like snow. V'shel sid dia hemenu, and sid is lower than that. However, if im isa shel tzemer dia hemenu b'boilei, it should have said the one of tzemer is less than the baheres, not the one that was mentioned, not the sid. So Amri Enachanami, and we'll show it that it's actually the way you just said. Vatani Reb Nosson Omer, Lo Shomer Akiva Shel Sid Diamena, Ela Shel Tzemer Diamena. It's not sid; it's the white wool that is the level lower. Now, the Mishnah talked about Baheres, which is written in the Torah, and we described it as white like snow. We said secondary to it is the Sid HaHechel. Then we said that the Se'es that's written in the Torah is like white wool. And secondary to it is Krum Beitza. Minolan Shebaheres Azahi. How do we know Bahera is white as snow? Amra Kra. V'im Baheres Levanahi. He Levana, and Acheres Levana. There is no nega more white than the Baheres. Baheres, amuka. When you look at it, it actually looks like it's deeper than the skin. Omer umare amok mina, or it's deeper than the skin. Kimare chama amuka minatzel. Like when you see the light of the sun on the ground, which seems to be deeper than the shade that it's next to it. Se'es, ein se'es elagavot. As opposed to Baheres, which we said is a depression in the skin, Se'es is a raised skin lesion. So the word Se'es refers to elevated. Sapachas, ein sapachas el tefela. It's sort of secondary to something else. That's the nega that's sort of secondary to Se'es, which is the Krum Beitza. Fine. You found me that the Krum Beitza color the white of an egg color, is secondary to se'es. What about tefillah l'baheres minolan? How do you know it's secondary to baheres? Amr of zera nemra levana b'se'es, v'nemra levana b'baheres. It mentions levana both by se'es and baheres. Ma levana amr b'se'es yesh lo tefillah. The levana by se'es, we said there's tefillah, which is krum beitza. Af levana amr b'baheres yesh lo tefillah, which is kesedechol, not the krum beitza. B'masnisa tana, we learn a different source. Hitila kosov l'sapachas bein se'es l'baheres. Sapachas has been placed under baheres, but above se'es. Lo melacha kashem sheyesh tefillah l'se'es, just like se'es has something underneath it. Kach tefillah l'baheres. So there's one underneath baheres as well. The Mishnah said se'es ketsemer love. Se'es is like white wool. Might semer lovan, amar bimi amar vasi, semer naki, clean wool of a ram ben yomo, a 1-day-old ram. Shemakafnim bo, we cover it in order to keep the wool clean. Lasias milas, a very fine wool, was harvested from such an animal. On Rav Chanina, mashal derabanan, that different than Rabbi Kiva, that they learned it in two groups, by Herod and it's told, and Se'es and it's told. Letrei Malki, Letrei Ifrechi. You have two kings and two like governors. Malko Shilzel, Malmi Malko Shilzel. One king is more powerful than the other king, but they can only be compared to each other. The Ifrechu Shilzel, Malam Ifrechu Shilzel. This king's governor is higher than the other. Now, high Zelam Alamizev, Zelam Alamizehu, if you're going to put them in order, it would be Melech, Melech, Moishel, Moishel. And it's not two groups. Ella, it's two kings, and each one has a Moishel underneath it. Malko Shalzeh, Lamala Me'ifrecha Denafshe. This king is higher than his governor. Malko Shalzeh, Lamala Me'ifrecha Denafshe. It's clear hierarchy when you look at two people. Same thing with Negoim. It's Baheres and what's below it, and Se'es and what's below it. Ravada Barava Amar Kagon Malka Va'ala Kafta. For example, the king and the Mishnah Lamelech, which is like the vice king. And then Rufila Varesh Galusa. The Rufila is the chief of staff of the army. The Reish Galusa was the Jewish exile. Now, high is Zelam Al Mizehu. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a 4-sided hierarchy. So rather, Kagon Malka Rufila. So it's the king and his chief of staff. The chief of staff responds directly to the king, not to the Mishnah Lamelech, even though the Mishnah Lamelech is more chashuv than the chief of staff. Valaktva Reish Galusa, the sort of the second to the king and the exilarch, the exilarch reported to the Mishnah Lamelech. It has nothing to do with the chief of staff. That's how they explain Se'es and its Tolda and Baheres and its Tolda. Rava gives us a more direct example. He gone Shvor Malka v'Kesar. Shvor Malka was the Persian king. The Caesar was the Caesar of Rome. We know they went to battle many times. Sometimes the Romans were defeated by the Persians. Sometimes they defeated the Persians. Who was greater, Shvor Malka or the Roman Caesar? What, you're not in the world? Go see who is running the world. Zu Roimi. This is evil Rome, whose coin goes to the whole world. So of course Rome is greater than Persia. Ravina Omar, Glima de Omar Vishake, Sadina de Kid Vishake. The Chacham Ravina gave another type of hierarchy, like a good piece of a garment made out of wool, ublo, and it sort of got used up, sarin shel piston, or a nice linen garment, ublo, and it's sort of hand-me-downs. Okay, back to Yediyas Atuma. At sheyesh ba Yediyah b'tchila. Now, Ton Rabbanan, minayin she'ein ha'kasuv, the pasuk that talks about a sliding scale korban, the korban oil of yored, where a person who's tamei, midaber el betumas mikdash ukdosha, is it speaking only about walking into the base of Mikdash? It's not clear from the pasuk. Vidinu, it's logical. Hoil the Izer v'anash ala tuma. The Torah said, "Be careful about tuma." The chayiv korban ala tuma, and it said that you're going to have to bring a korban. The warning, not punishment, but the warning, the law regarding tumah is that you shouldn't walk into the base of Mikdash. When a person is obligated to bring a korban, it's going to be for the same affair. Maybe it has to do with truma. Somebody who's tummy who eats truma, because we see shehizr al kach. The Torah made a law against it. The onash, there is misa umesu bo kichalu. So lo ashkechan avon misa shechayv aleh korban. There is no example of something where if you did it b'mezid, you would get misa, where you bring a korban if you're a shoygeg. Only if you do an aveira, a shogeg on something where there's chiyuv koretz, and tumas midas shugdoshav, there's a chiyuv koretz, so it can't be truma. Eman immediately the korban kavua. That's a set korban, like a korban chatas. Aval oil of yored may be nasi, but maybe since this is an unusual korban, it's a sliding scale korban. If you're wealthy, you bring an animal. If you're less wealthy, you bring a pair of birds. If you're less wealthy, you bring a mincha. Maybe that has, maybe we learn it differently. So we will leave this for tomorrow. Koach everybody.
Tomorrow.